Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's Product School webinar. Thanks for joining us today. Just in case you didn't know, Product School teaches product management, product leadership, coding, data analytics, digital marketing, and UX design courses online and at our 16 campuses worldwide. On top of that, every week we offer some amazing local product management events and host online webinars, live streams, and Ask Me Anything sessions. Head over to productschool.com after this webinar to check them out. Today, we have an awesome guest presenting. I'd like to introduce you to Gain Shwaran. Gain Shwaran is an accomplished product executive with a track record of successfully launching multiple new products. He also has extensive experience in bringing products to market from their inception. Gain Shwaran has previously worked as a senior product manager at Salesforce, and currently he has just left Worldpay and is starting a new venture that I'll let him tell you a little bit more about. So feel free to leave any questions for Gain Shwaran in the comments, and we'll be sure to address them at the end. And without further ado, let's welcome Gain Shwaran. Thanks for joining us today.
Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm Ganeshwaran. Thanks for having me. Thanks to Product School, and thanks for listening to me today. I'm going to take you through setting up a product to success, basically how to track its performance, so on and so forth today. As Dan mentioned, I have recently left Worldpay, but I'm proud to be here, and I'm going to start something on my own, and until I launch something, so I'm going to keep that as a secret for now. But without much further ado, let's focus on the presentation. What I'm going to do is, just give me a second, I'm going to share my screen.
Looks good.
All right. Let me quickly. All right. So yes, what we are going to do is just focus on the product alone and how to make sure the product is going to succeed. To do that, we have to track its performance. Performance should be tracked in the context of the competition. That's exactly what we are going to see in this presentation. So first, we are going to start with the competitive landscape of the market, and then spend some time on the competitive analysis. Then we will focus on the real question of how to make the product to succeed. So that's how now I have arranged the slides. Let's spend some time on the competitive landscape. In this phase, it is basically a survey of the landscape to understand the competition, what our rivals are doing, and how their mindset is, mindset behind the product especially, and their product offerings and various line items in their catalog, so on and so forth. So that let's understand the competition first, and by understanding the competition, we will also understand the market really well. So that's the first step. Now, in this, while we are surveying the landscape, I would like to start with a mission statement. Every one of our competitors, respectfully, they are very good players and trying to serve the market. And we have to understand the mindset behind it. First thing to understand the mindset behind their product offering is to focus on their mission statement. And then the last one is the pricing, which is another key attribute when it comes to product's performance. In between mission and the pricing, you can include as many attributes as you want, depending upon your data availability, ability to do the research. I've just through a couple of items here, but feel free to include everything. So, but start with the vision and then include the pricing, and you can add as many attributes as you can. That being said, now this is an example of a landscape survey. Here, if you see, the first two are competitors, and the third one is, let's say, that is our organization, and we have some products to serve in this marketplace. And if you see the first item, the mission statement itself is taken from real customers, real merchants who are serving in the market. The key thing to be noted is, if you see the first one, it says about relevant in their lives, relevant in their customer lives, and high touch. Those are the key items to be noted. And their products are interestingly, organized or revolves around it. And the pricing also, it revolves around it. The second one is clearly fashion trends and offering captivating, customer experience. What it means is they are really offering a niche product line, and they have very specific group to target to, and hence their pricing. And now the third is, it is us, as a company, what our mission statement is and what our product is going to be, and how are we going to serve. If you understand this, then you clearly know what our adjacency is, what our rivals are doing, and how are we operating, and more interestingly, what is the mind behind their product offering, which is basically the mission statement. So you'll have a pretty good idea on that. So with this, let's move on the competitive analysis. Competitive analysis, we all know product managers do that. Just I have provided a very a high level overview of what it is. It's a strategic research conducted to collect and review the information of rival firms. So this is the important in exercise. Without this exercise, setting up a product blindly to do something may not end up being a fruitful result. Continuation on the competitive analysis, there are in this space already many frameworks are available. I'm not going to touch upon those frameworks. Those frameworks, when it comes to particular product and service, either it may not provide enough information to take action on, or the tool set itself is very broad stroke, and hence it may not give us enough action points. And that is the cautionary note there. Just to emphasize more on that, if you do the SWOT and Porter's 5 forces, they are all really applicable. There's nothing wrong with it, but there are a lot of dynamics these days, especially in the online market space. Deregulation, digitalization, they are all those forces. Having a fundamental framework such as 5 forces, Porter's 5 forces, it's really you may not get the right action to be taken if you completely rely on those basic frameworks. Those are basic frameworks you got to do, but they may not end up giving the action items that you really want to take, especially when it comes to promoting a product and making the product to do better. Okay, so I'm not going to touch upon the SWOT and Porter's 5 forces in this presentation. However, I would like to just highlight on a few other areas where we need to be focusing on in this competitive analysis. When you do the analysis, you need to gather information. Branding, value proposition, content, social media, event, and community are 6 broad areas where you can do some research and get more information. Branding, for example, you need to focus on the core messaging of your competitors and competing products, and what the taglines. Say, for example, AI being a cliche, and if the product offering, especially the competitive offering, does it come with any artificial intelligence or machine learning attached to it, where our basic product set is lagging. You got to understand that how are they putting the product out there with their core messaging. And value proposition, and the key value proposition, what is that? Is it Is it savings? Is it what exactly the value proposition? There are many value propositions, and our product may be focusing on a certain value proposition where our competitors may not be focusing on, and you got to have a good understanding of that. And of course, the content piece is really how the competitors are acting in the market in terms of offering brochures and other quantitative data, their webinars, so on and so forth. And of course, if a new entrant is in the market, you may want to focus on their social media outlets. What are they doing? How are they actually promoting their product? And other events, certainly you should keep an eye on what kind of trade shows they sponsor and what kind of events they are conducting. And last thing is the community. And how are they embracing the community, such as the developer community, user groups, open source, and even the standards body in some cases. So these are all areas where you can gather more information and then have a good overview of how the games being played overall in the market by your rivals, right? And along with that, the market share. This is a must-have piece. Here, if you see, who are the big players, the green and red, maybe, this is just for illustrative purposes, by the way, maybe big players in the market, and another relatively smaller player is also available, which is, blue, the pie. Let's assume for the moment is, we belong to the yellow pie, where we are really wanting to promote the product and capture the market share, and given in this rivalry, right? This is another exercise that's going to help us in driving the product. With that said, the crux of this presentation is how do we orient the product for the success? There are key aspects that we need to be focusing on, whether the product, in this case, all along it's an outside-in look, now it's an inside-out look, whether the product that we want to promote really addresses the gaps and pain points, and whether I talked about the key value proposition. This is another product differentiator. What are the differentiators that our product is offering to the market? And of course, the business model, which touches the pricing, of course, and the support structure that comes with the product. These are all the areas where you will be focusing on. And when it comes to performance, we need to track the data points. I basically, for the purpose of this conversation, the key metrics we want to track belong to two buckets: the customer adoption side of things and the revenue side of metrics. We are not going to touch upon all key metrics. Just for purpose of this conversation, on the left-hand side, I'm going to focus only on brochure downloads and transaction volume, and on the right-hand side, it's really a CLV, customer lifetime value, and the customer acquisition cost. So based on that, let us say we track these metrics, and what do we do? What is our learning? What you can do is, once you have the data, once you are tracking these metrics, you can come up with a dashboard. But before getting to the dashboard, let's focus on the definitions. If you see customer acquisition cost is going to give you, it is an indication of how much you are spending to acquire a customer. That's CAC. You can get that by getting the metrics around sales and marketing costs divided by the number of new customers. That will give you the customer acquisition cost. And lifetime value is really the payments made by a customer divided by the churn rate. That's going to give you the lifetime value. the ratio of LTV and CAC is another important factor. Here, if you see the benchmark, the 1:1 ratio means you are basically losing. That means your product is not really performing. 3:1, at least the industry says that is better, and 4:1 is much better. In that case, you may want to spend more time on marketing. So those are the strategic steps that you would take, but you have to collect the metrics and put it in certain format in order to take next steps. So this is the dashboard. Again, just for purpose of this presentation, I pulled some data. These are all like data cooked up just for the presentation, but it's going to give you a pointer as to what you can do in your context. On the left-hand side, if you see, it's a customer adoption metrics. As I mentioned, it's based on brochure download and transaction volume. If you see, that is, let's say the data is collected for past 4 or 5 months, and the data seems to be pretty good. It's all in growing trend. We have good customer traffic, and also the brochure downloads are increasing as well. So that means more interest is being shown towards your product by the market, by the customers. However, on the right-hand side, if you see, the customer acquisition cost is actually increasing. And the ratio of LTV to CAC are staying around 2:1 and 1:1 around that line. That means you are not actually making the money. That means your product is not performing in the sense that it is not generating enough revenue. It's not profitable. That is the takeaway. Once you track it, once you have a dashboard with certain goals in mind, if you create that, then you can address those gaps in the performance gaps in the product. So in this case, in this example, definitely adoption is good. However, you're not making money. So that is the takeaway from this dashboard. So once you have this, then what are you going to do? Now the good thing is having the dashboard and the metrics collectively, putting it all together. Now you know where the problem is. The problem is the product. Even though the adoption is good, you're not making money, and that's a problem. And hence, it's not performing well. Now you are up to take some steps. If you're not getting enough revenue, what does it mean? Is it a price? It could be, depending upon the context. In this case, it's an online market. Let's say e-commerce space. Certainly pricing is one area, one leverage where you want to tweak. There are many things that you can do without getting into price war. To avoid a price war, if you see the options there are many options. The key option that I would like to explore is, or I would suggest anyone to explore, is the differentiating your product. That being said, let us assume that we are in a sort of price war. Then what do we do? We have to understand, is there a market in equilibrium? Again, for the purpose of this presentation, I'm not going to spend much time on Nash equilibrium or any other economic equilibrium, and that topic is not, I'm not going to cover. There's enough literature out there, but as a product manager, it's good to think along those lines, because pricing is one lever that you have right now to tweak around, and you have to understand whether there is an economic equilibrium. Let's say in the e-commerce space, generally it happens. In this particular example, or at least the example that I am illustrating here, there could be two Nash equilibriums. One could be on the low side. Let's say you want to adoption, you want to accelerate the adoption and generate more revenue. So in that case, you are really thinking about the volume by cutting the price. Is that a good strategy? It's up to you. Although the equilibrium is there on the low, meaning you cut the price and then your competitors are also would cut the price. It's an iterative game. but it is racing to the bottom. Please note that this is always not a good strategy. Just keep in mind. However, see, in this payoff matrix, you are not actually racing to the bottom. You are not cutting down the price. You are keeping the price sufficiently high enough so that the market can sustain with it, and there is an equilibrium up there, and hence your strategy would be keep the price at least high enough so that your competitors also is going to do the same thing, and market is going to sustain and orient towards that side of the equation. So the price cutting is not always is an option, and so blindly you don't need to do if price is a leverage. So you can always keep the price high enough. Still, you can ensure that your product is performing well, and you get enough profit in the end. So that is that payoff matrix. With that, I'm going to spend some time on the takeaways. So here, in order to set up the product for the success, start from the mission statement and make sure you understand the thinking, the mind behind those products and services, and also mind behind your rivals, and gain insights by doing the competitive analysis, not necessarily just with the SWOT or Porter's 5 forces. I mean, you can do more depending upon your context, and make sure the KPIs, identify the KPIs relevant for your product, and then track it and build a dashboard so that you can plan your next steps. And if your next steps happen to be something like a pricing war, and not necessarily cutting price is always a good strategy, and you can keep the price high enough so that you should be able to manage your product to do well. So those are the takeaways from this presentation. I'm going to stop at this point for any questions. These are the references.
Oh, sorry.
Product School, thank you so much, and thanks a lot for listening to me today.
Thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure having you present some packed with insights. Thank you so much. So I don't see any questions here in the comments just yet. We'll see if anyone's typing it out. But in the meantime, we always like to ask our speakers if there's one piece of advice you could give aspiring product managers, like a piece of wisdom or a quote. What would that be? What would be your motivational saying?
Yeah, I would like to motivate the aspiring product managers with and have a comprehensive look, not a narrow-minded look. If you see my presentation, it's not that, hey, take your product. Your product could be, let us say, a cool feature. If you just focus on that, you may lose. You may miss a lot of things. So take a comprehensive approach. I mean, think big. Think big, meaning from the competitor's point of view, the outside in look, and then inside out look. All do the analysis like that, and then bridge. Bring all the information so that you'll have a very comprehensive look. So that's the think big is what my suggestion is going to be.
Awesome. Well, I think that about wraps it up. I don't see any questions here. So, well, thank you so much for joining us, Gainshwaran. It was honestly a pleasure having you on the channel. I hope to welcome you back someday.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Don. Thanks for having me. Hello, folks. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
So before we go, I wanted to give our audience more information about Product School, just in case they want to become a product manager. Product School's product management, product leadership, coding, data analytics, digital marketing, and UX design courses are taught by industry experts working at companies like Google and Facebook. And in addition to that, we offer online and offline events at our 16 campuses around the US, UK, and Canada. So if you're located near a campus, make sure you stop by one of these events every Wednesday and Thursday. You can also find us on social media at Product School, and you can keep up with the latest product management content at the product blog at productschool.com. So thank you all for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope to see you later. Thank you, Gainshwaran. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you so much. See you guys. Bye-bye.